Hello, I'm Austin Bradley and I'm doing my quick and final analysis for this class. And on behalf of all who have been active participants in this class on discussions, thank you, Professor Deaton, for having this opportunity to make many videos and many insightful points for understanding many complicated virtues of this class, which I just truly love and appreciate. It's just awesome. Awesome class all the way around. For chapter 10 of Sandel's book, Justice Was the Right Thing to Do, Justice and the Common Good, I took a great interest in reading the first excerpt about John F. Kennedy in 1960 when he was running for president on the Democrat platform, where he had some decisions to make with confliction of his religious faith versus overall security. Many people were afraid of that, but Kennedy proved himself to be impartial on making decisions without having religious influence. And that's pretty interesting. And he turned out to be a pretty effective leader for what he had to do. And it is something to think about being neutral or non-neutral in political affairs. And I strongly disagree with Sandel's communalism views of things to have to refer to many sources to make an overall argument. I believe, as a libertarian slash liberalist thinker, I believe that we should listen to all arguments made with adequation with our minds to think about making the right choices overall in what we have to do and making the right arguments. Of course, having to refer to doctrines and books and sources and such does help make arguments much more plausible, but at the same time, what happens if that source that you refer to or that particular doctrine is wrong, is outdated? Then you don't want to try to refer to that anymore to make a further argument. You need to make points based on how it would affect everyone who may be in disagreement with that particular source. Now, for example, I am a neutralist instead of a non-neutralist because I like to be impartial in any kind of venture that I have to consider and think about. Well, last night when I went to town, me and my family had a meal at a local restaurant called the Golden Dairy. And what I got back in change was something very contradictory. You have read probably and heard possibly of sources saying that the average lifespan of a $1 bill is at least 14 months. You know, that the dollar bill could not survive in circulation for no more than 2 years. And that's just if it stays intact. Well, of course, I'm keeping this bill that I've received in this collector book because, see, I also collect currency as well as coins. Well, what I received back in my change, and I was careful not to fold it, was a $1 bill, crisp now, it's not counterfeit, that's dated 1977. 1977. Almost 40 years old. And it is in crisp, uncirculated condition. Never has seen a day being spent up until last night when I received it. Now, how many 1977 series bills can you receive in anybody's wallet right now that are in that impeccable of condition. Because usually, if you find any old bills, it's even hard to find say a series 1999 $1 bill, which I was familiar remembering to spend when I was in elementary and middle school. You do not see those bills anymore in circulation hardly, much less in perfect shape. So that source of saying that the average lifespan of a $1 bill being 14 months, that's really invalid. Because this is actually a survivor note here, being like it is. So it's somewhat good to somewhat evaluate, but don't really fully believe in what you read or listen to. You have to somewhat let it dissolve in your mind and think, well, what if? Another scenario that I have to dismay with Sandel's sources. Well, my uncle, as you know, he has this condition, this rare kidney infection called pyelonephritis. The mortality rate of this rare kidney infection is pretty low, but my uncle, he had to wait for as long as he possibly could to go to the doctor up until 3 weeks ago tonight, and he is a lot of specialists and doctors are predicting that he will die. But I don't believe he will because look, they predicted the very first night he wouldn't make it, but they've done all kinds of procedures and he is still going for 3 weeks now in a row. And I hope that with divine intervention he'll still make it. So despite all kinds of scientific research and such, and all kinds of studies and surveys, it's very important to somewhat consider possibly maybe what may be possible in an impermissible situation. Anything can be possible through certain methods. So expect the unexpected on things. I agree with whoever came, I don't know if it is called Murphy's Law, but expect the unexpected. What you don't think will happen will. So always have that mindset to think that as well on certain issues, and it also applies to political affairs as well. And being neutral is far more important in achieving public affairs and success overall than being non-neutral and being a communal person word, which may refer to things that may not necessarily be just. Like in Robert Solomon's The Little Philosophy book, in chapter 3, God, Nature, and Spirituality, there's that little section there in that chapter, which I referred to a while back in one of my videos, that said that scientists have been wrong on their observations on many things that they've declared true in the first place, and they've been wrong. So always have that kind of mindset. And religion is a very skeptical thing about it. Of course, I believe in Christianity, of course, just like everybody else in this country. And it is great to respect every religion on how to do things, on how to, receive spiritual guidance and favor. There are many ways of doing that. I mean, being in a Islamic or Muslim religion, that's okay. And even being atheist, there's no harm in that in some ways. As long as we respect one another and what the goals of religion in one's life can play a role in, that's what's important. So getting certain things without having to make a particular reference. Of course, references help in an argument, but don't always just take them beyond face value to just really be even more polar and partial. And I think one of the virtues that which I appeal to the Sandel's chapter text of deciding on whether to use consequentialism, freedom, or virtue, I would choose the freedom principle because being free on what you decide on is very important. We have to make evaluations on which we have to make, and it may have consequences, yes, but it's not something to impose that may punish you. Consequentialism, the fear about what I would be concerned with would be having to be punished for liking a certain song or a certain TV show. I may be punished for that if it does not conform to what the majority would want in utilitarianism. And in a virtue sense, I would be afraid that there would be some issues of probably bribery or too much over reward for something that may even cause whatever you have to do to be virtuous be not worthy of being virtuous at all, period. I know certain virtues are considered chores in some ways, but they're for the good to do, and it will promote you later on in public affairs down the road. So just because there are many people who do not vote, for example, some people consider voting just an unnecessary chore to where they think that their vote doesn't count. But it does if it can be appealed to that mindset of fervent praise for the voter and getting that voter turnout achieve more, but without having to do over bribery or over rewarding and so forth like that. The virtue principle I would not be for in political affairs. Consequentialism I would not be for, but being in the libertarian, neutral, freedom principle, I would really rally for to make decisions that may turn out well for me, but if it doesn't turn out well for me, I'm not going to worry about having to suffer, pay the price overall for it. And that would be the best route to take for myself in any kind of situation. Evaluate the circumstances that may be going on for what has to be decided on, and make the decision from there. And once you do make the decision, then if it does well or not well, you evaluate it, and there shouldn't really be any concern or reparation from it. So those are my viewpoints of. Hopefully, I discussed those adequately and accordingly, and I hope many take this with great stride and appreciation. So I hope this video finds everyone well, and I wish everybody a very early Merry Christmas and hopefully a prosperous New Year. Thank you.